everybody, and welcome to St Paul's Kids TV. As you can see, we're in a new, different place today. I'll tell you why. It's because Rachel and the youth team are painting the other room that we usually use with all the handprints. So we might not see the handprints again. But good morning and welcome. My name's Tori, for those of you who don't know. And usually I'm joined with Rob, my co-host, but this morning he's not here. So you've just got me today, but that's okay. We are still going to have a really fun time. Firstly, I'd love to know who is joining us. Who is joining us? I'd love to know in the chat what you have been up to and who's here. And the question for this morning, now I don't know if you know this, but this morning is Sustainability Sunday, which means we're just going to be looking a little bit at what it means to look after God's beautiful planet that He's made for us and how we can, care for it well. And parents, you will have been seeing various bits from Lucy and from the rest of the team about sustainability and little changes, manageable changes that we can all make in our lives that help. And so what I want to know is who has been, and it doesn't matter if you've been joining in the official challenge or if you've just been doing it organically in your home, let me know in the chat who has been doing little bits of looking after the planet. So maybe you've been eating less meat. Maybe you've been recycling. Maybe you've been cycling instead of in the car. Let me know what you've been up to help look after our planet. And I do want to know all the things that you've been up to this week, because I feel like I haven't seen you guys since last Sunday at Sunday Fun Day. I wonder also who was there and did you enjoy it? So those are all things that we can chat about, and I'll say hi and shout out to people in a minute. But first, we have a worship song. We always like to begin our time together with worship, because that's what we're together to do, really, isn't it? God is just so amazing. His love is so big and so wonderful. I thought we could learn a new song. I know I'm into the new songs at the moment, but hopefully you've got the hang of the last week's and the weeks before's new song. This week's new song is also about how God's love is big and wonderful, but it's a little bit different. I don't know the actions yet, so you're going to have to just join in with the video. I'll also be joining in because I need to learn the actions. But let's just get up off our sofas and give yourselves a wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. And let's worship Jesus. Off we go.
Bit of guitar. Take hold of your burger.
God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea. What about a cloud? What about the sky? What about the earth? What about the moon? What about the sun? What about the stars? Is anything bigger than this big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea. What about a cloud? What about the sky? What about the earth? What about the moon? What about the sun? And what about the stars? Is anything bigger than this big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. Is this big love all big enough to handle all my doubts and worries? Is this big love all big enough to help with all my fears? Yes! Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love.
we go. I hope you're all a little bit puffed out from all the jumping and the stars. So there we go. God's love is big and wonderful. I love that new song, The Burger and the Mouse and the House. Right, I'm going to do some shout outs. Hello to Edward. Good morning, Edward. Thank you for joining us. And always a very, either first or one of the first messages. So good morning, Edward. Hi, Raphael. Good morning. And hello to Callum, Cameron and Finley, who are excited to be watching with their cousins. Good morning, Katie, Hannah and Lydia. It's always nice to welcome new people to the Kids TV gang. Good morning, Eddie and Emily. Hello. Good morning to the Ward family who have a birthday tomorrow. Happy birthday, Isabella. That is so exciting. And good morning, Rob. Hi, Rob. Usually he's here with me, but not today. What are people saying? Oh, we loved the tractor rides at Sunday Fun Day. I also loved the tractor rides. It was very bumpy. When I was on, I think it was Rowan, my friend Rowan, didn't, and maybe it was William as well. Anyway, whoever it was that was with me, I think it was Rowan and William, they didn't hold on for the whole ride. It was very impressive. I was holding on. Hello to the Roberts in a caravan on holiday. I love this. A bit of a bank holiday vibe. People away, people on holiday. Love it. Okay, so do say hi, everyone that's joining us. Now, oh, hi, Noki. Lovely that you've joined us. Now, we are going to play a game, okay? So let me just put on the game picture. There we are. Now, today's game is you have to spot the animal amongst the other things, okay? So I think you'll all be good at it, but I'm only going to give you about 10 seconds for each one. Some of them are very silly. In fact, all of them are very silly. So the first one is you have to spot the sloths amongst the pain au chocolat, okay? So let's see, you've got 10 seconds to try and spot the sloths amongst the pain au chocolat. Here we go. Can you find them? So you've got 10 seconds and you need to work out which ones are sloths and which ones are pain au chocolat. In fact, just find the sloths because they look really similar. Isn't that crazy? Okay, here we are. 3, 2, 1, and here are the sloths. How did you do at finding those? I wonder if you found them. Okay, ready for the next one. You might want to get near your screen so you can point them out because that's quite fun. Okay, this one, you're looking for a chihuahua and the chihuahuas are surrounded by blueberry muffins. Okay, so here we go. Find the chihuahuas. This is probably the silliest game I've ever played. But it's quite fun because it turns out that, you know, animals look like things. So you've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and here are the chihuahuas. So that one was a bit of a pattern. I like that. Oh, we had 8 sloths, love that. Okay, good. Right, the next one, let's see if I can find it. Oh yes, the next one. How are you doing at finding them, by the way? Let me know. Now you have to find the Labradoodle amongst the fried chicken. Okay, here we go. And you've got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. How did you do? Did you find them? Here we go. Again, we've got 8. I think most of them have 8. Actually, maybe not all of them. Not all of them. I'm not going to say all of them because I don't think they do. But here we go. I hope you found the Labradoodles amongst the fried chicken. Isn't it amazing that Labradoodles look like fried chicken? Okay, this next one, you have to find the kittens this time in the ice cream. Here we go. So you've got another 10 seconds for this one. See if you can find the kittens, not chickens, in the ice cream. I just think these things are so funny. I don't know why. I've got a terrible sense of humour, clearly. But kittens and ice cream, wow. They look so similar. Okay, I think your 10 seconds are up. Did you find them? Again, I think we maybe do have 8 for all of them, but they're not in the same order each time, so it's always a good test to see how many there are. So hopefully you found, how did you do with the kittens? Did you find them? Okay, now we've got one more, which is the game, and then I'm going to show you 2 more pictures because they're a bit silly. So this one, I think, is, oh yes, it's dogs. You have to find the dogs amongst the bagels. Here we go. Can you see the dogs in the bagels? Yeah, you see, Edward's on it. I think he's finding 8 of everything. I think there is 8 of everything. I should have noticed that. So here we are with the dogs and the bagels. 3, 2, 1, and boom, there they are. Again, there's a nice pattern to this one. I mean, I'm enjoying the dogs and bagels. I hope you are too. Okay, so this one isn't a competition because now I think the other 2 have the same pattern, and I thought that's not very exciting if they've all got the same pattern. But I thought I'd show you anyway. Here are some fish that look like lemons. Fish lemons! It's so funny. Oh dear. And then lastly, this is probably my favourite. Here are some sheepdogs that look like mops. Here we are. Oh, it's so silly, but it's so funny. The things you can find on the internet, just brilliant, just brilliant. Okay, so I wonder, scratching my head, I wonder why we played that. So it was fun for a start, but I wonder if you can guess the link from today's story. So we, as you probably will remember, because you're all very clever, you'll probably know that we are in our series on Meals with Jesus. And if you were at Sunday Funday last week, you'll remember that we heard the story of the big picnic when Jesus fed 5,000 people. And he showed that he is God, because only God can make something out of nothing. And Jesus made loads of food out of very, very little food. And he fed all these people. So today's story is a bit different. Today's story is it's called Best Seat in the House. And it's something that Jesus did, but it's also a story that Jesus told. So we're going to watch it. It's in Luke 14, verses 1 to 11. And I couldn't actually find a cartoon children's video, but I found quite a nice one of somebody reading the Bible passage and then it was being acted out. So that's what we're going to watch now from Luke 14, verses 1 to 11. This is the best seat in the house.
One Sabbath, when Jesus went to eat in the house of a prominent Pharisee, he was being carefully watched. There in front of him was a man suffering from abnormal swelling of his body. Jesus asked the Pharisees and experts in the law, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath or not?" But they remained silent. So, taking hold of the man, he healed him and sent him on his way. Then he asked them, "If one of you has a child or an ox that falls into a well on the Sabbath day, will you not immediately pull it out?" And they had nothing to say. When he noticed how the guests picked the places of honor at the table, he told them this parable. When someone invites you to a wedding feast, do not take the place of honor, for a person more distinguished than you may have been invited. If so, the host who invited both of you will come and say to you, "Give this person your seat." Then, humiliated, you will have to take the least important place. But when you are invited, take the lowest place, so that when your host comes, he will say to you, "Friend, move up to a better place." Then you will be honored in the presence of all the other guests. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Then Jesus said to him,
There we go. It goes on to the next bit of the chapter, which we're not looking at today, so I thought I'd cut it early. Okay, so Sometimes people can seem like they're one thing and then they're another thing. Just like a dog can look like a mop and a kitten can look like an ice cream. So in today's story, the Pharisee was supposed to be this expert, and he was supposed to be just amazing at doing everything the way that God does it. So he was supposed to be the most like God because he studied his scriptures and he was really good. But what we saw in the story when the poorly man was there is that he actually wasn't very kind. He criticised Jesus for healing him, and he didn't really put that man who was suffering in front of his own need. So he wasn't very kind. Now that's not very godlike, is it? Because we know that God's love is big and wonderful. We know that God heals and is kind and always puts others before himself, because we see this in Jesus. Now Jesus, he's the most important person ever, isn't he? It's like the VIP guest at every party. And yet, he saw this man who was struggling and was poorly, and he put him first. He healed him, even though on the Sabbath we're supposed to rest. Now, this is the thing about the whole Sabbath. God said to his people, on the Sabbath you must rest. But the Pharisee in this story, he was using that as an excuse to not be kind. He was using it as an excuse to not help someone. But God, even on the Sabbath, is always kind and always loving, and he always puts others first. And we know, this side of history, that Jesus, because he's God, we know that he always puts others first, because he even got to the point where he died on the cross to show his love for us. And so we know that even though Jesus is the most important person, he doesn't act like the most important person. He puts others first. Do you remember what he said in the story? The lowest will be made the greatest, and the greatest will be made the lowest. So in God's kingdom, everything's a little bit upside down. Now, this story is also a bit of a warning. I wonder if you've ever felt a bit like me. I've definitely felt like this, where you know your Bible really well and you feel like you've got everything right. Well, actually, in this story, we see that the guy who was supposed to have everything right really didn't have everything right because he wasn't kind. He wasn't very much like God at all. So we also really need to ask Jesus' help. We need to be humble and have humble hearts to ask, Jesus, will you help me to be loving and kind? Will you help me to put others first? It's not something that comes very naturally to a lot of us, or to most of us, I don't think. We're not always that good at putting other people before ourselves. Have you ever been in that situation where your mum's been like, cut the cake or cut the whatever, biscuits, give out the biscuits, and you know that you want the best one for yourself, but actually we should be the sort of people who give the best to the others, to our brothers and sisters, to our mum or dad. We give the best bit of cake or the best things because we need to be putting other people first. That's what Jesus would do. And so it is hard, and we need to ask Jesus help for that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this week is Sustainability Sunday. It's the Sunday when we especially think about how we care for God's amazing world. Now, one of the reasons why we look after God's beautiful world is because it's one way of putting others first. In our society, in the UK, we don't often notice much of climate change, but climate change is more of an issue for people who don't have as much money and who live in different countries, maybe near the sea, maybe in places that flood easily, maybe in places that are very, very hot and don't get rains. And we're going to watch a short video about that just now, because one of the ways that we can put others before ourselves is by looking after God's beautiful planet. Now let's watch a video.
Hi, I'm Ayenza, and this is Joel, and we want to talk to you about renewing our world.
We often take electricity for granted, but 1 in 6 people around the world still don't have any, and most of those are living in poverty.
Imagine how scary it would be walking home in pitch black.
Or trying to do my homework in the dark.
The main way most people currently get electricity is through a complicated network of cables or grid powered by burning fossil fuels. But this is slow, expensive, and most importantly, pollutes the environment.
We've learned that burning fossil fuels like oil and coal is causing climate change, and our climate is changing fast. There are more floods, droughts, and less reliable rain, which means many people around the world are struggling to grow enough food to eat. They're being pushed deeper into poverty, people who Tearfund work with, just like Sylvia in Malawi.
I have seen a big change because when I was a girl, the rains used to come consistently and it was good for farming. But last year I harvested 4 bags of maize from my garden, and most years we do not have enough food.
I don't think it's fair that Sylvia works really hard and still struggles to feed her family. And I don't think that's what God wants either.
If we want to beat poverty, we need to tackle climate change. And I'm hopeful that if Christians got together, surely we can make a difference.
That's why Tearfund's joining the Renew Our World campaign with other Christians around the world to do just that.
The good news is that, since I've been alive, technology has advanced loads.
So it could be easier for Sylvia and her family to get electricity without polluting our world. Imagine the differences this could make.
Children could do their homework in the evening, medicines could be stored in fridges, and women could travel safely at night. Farmers could even pump water into their fields to help the crops grow.
Wouldn't this be amazing? And now we have the opportunity to make that happen.
The UK government has been spending money on energy in developing countries, which is great, but it has spent more of this money on polluting fossil fuels rather than clean energy.
This doesn't seem the right way around to me.
So join us today and put your faith into action with Tearfund. We are asking the government to bring light where it's dark by investing more in renewable energy for people in poverty.
This will enable millions more people to have access to electricity, and this clean energy will help protect their future and mine. We can be the first generation where everyone has access to electricity.
So there you go. So that's just one way that we can put others before ourselves. And we don't all have to be amazing and perfect at all this stuff. Everybody who's tried to recycle some things, who's used less plastic, who's reused their shopping bags, who's tried to walk to school or cycle to school rather than taking the car, all of these little things add up to a lot of help. And then also things like, as they mentioned, writing to the government and asking them to invest in renewable energy. There's all sorts of ways that we can all, even though we're all just one person, we can all get on board and look after God's planet really well, because that's how we're going to be able to help people who are in some of the poorest parts of the world. So however it is that you want to respond to today's story, let's remember that Jesus, in this story and in all the other stories, Jesus is always kind, he's always loving, and he always puts others first. So most kings, they would send out their people to die for the country and for the king. But our King, Jesus, he went and died for us. So that's revolutionary, that's amazing. And because of Jesus' love for us, we're able to love others so extravagantly. So I wonder, maybe you can think of one or two things. Maybe some of you have been doing the Sustainability Challenge. And as I say, do let me know if you have. And if you've been doing that, maybe there's one or two things on there that you think, actually, I'm going to keep doing this. This isn't too difficult. And I can reuse things. I can recycle things. I can make a habit of walking somewhere that's a bit close. So yeah, maybe there's some things that you can just pick up that are small changes that are easy to do. So do let me know if you have been taking part in that. Now we're going to just finish with a time of prayer, and then I've got a few little notices. I know we don't usually have notices, it's very exciting. And then we also have another action song, obviously. So let's just, sometimes when we chat to God, it's easy to chat to him out loud. We use our own words because God knows exactly what's on our hearts. If you want to chat to God in your head, or whisper and give it to God, however you like to speak to God, he loves to hear from you. And also sometimes we'll find that God speaks back to us. So let's just chat to God now and see what he's got to say for us, to us today. So you might want to close your eyes. I like to close my eyes because otherwise I get distracted. So if you want to join me, feel free. So why don't you just start off by imagining Jesus in front of you? What does he look like? Is he happy to see you? So thank you, Jesus, that you're with us and that we can chat to you today. We can chat to you every day. Why don't you start by telling Jesus one thing that you've found really fun or really interesting in the last day, maybe even just from this morning. What's been really life-giving? What's been really awesome in your last day? Jesus, thank you for those things that make us smile and make us laugh and give us joy. Thank you that you're with us in those moments. Now, why don't you ask Jesus, from today's story, we were challenged to put other people first. So ask Jesus, how can I put somebody else first today? Might be a big thing, might be a small thing. How can I put somebody else first? So Jesus, we thank you for all those ideas that you give us of how we can love others, how we can look after people above ourselves. I pray that you would help us to do those things. We don't find it easy to put others first. In fact, most of us are probably a little bit like the Pharisee. We think that we've got it all right, but God, we know that we need your help. So I pray that you would help us to love others and be really self-sacrificing like Jesus was, to put ourselves in second place and put others first. Amen. Amen. Okay, well, I'm hoping that you've had fun. As I say, we've got some notices, some things to tell you after this last song. But first we're going to sing an action song, and it's the one that I'm currently obsessed with. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. So get up off the couch and give yourselves a little wiggle. And let's respond to what we've learned today by singing and worshipping with this song.
My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. My God is so big and so strong and so mighty. There's nothing my God cannot do. In the beginning, God made everything.
Awesome. Okay, need to go. There we are. We've got Mr. Coconut Head saying goodbye, but I have a few things to tell you about before we say goodbye. So, firstly, some of you will have joined in. Gosh, I'm out of breath after that. Whew. Some of you will have joined in with the Sustainability Challenge this month. If you didn't officially join in with the Sustainability Challenge but have tried to make some small changes in your family's routine to help look after God's beautiful world, then please do let me know, because we have a little present, a little prize to give to each of the households that have tried something this month. So do let me know. We've got a little prize we want to either give out or for you to come and collect. And they're quite fun. So do let me know if you have been enjoying doing that. Secondly, for those of you who have little people in your house, like babies and toddlers under 4, under 5, we have 2 groups that meet midweek for parents and their little people. One's called Tots, meets on a Friday. One's called Tiny Tots, meets on a Thursday. Now, they haven't been running because of COVID, but they're about to open again. What? So here is a little trailer to show you what's what. So there we go. They're both starting back the 10th and the 11th of June. Do get in touch if you want to know more information, or if you know anyone who would be interested, point them in my direction and I can give them all the information that they need to know. And that, I think, is about all we have time for today. So I hope that you all recognise God's presence with you in this week ahead as you do all your different things. As you go to... No, you're not going to school. It's half term. How exciting. As you do whatever half term plans you have, I hope you have an amazing week and that you recognise God's presence with you and God's love as you go. So, have an amazing week, and I will see you all very soon, hopefully. And do keep in touch. Have a great half term, everybody. Bye.
Bit of guitar. Take more of your burger.
God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea.
What about a cloud? What about the sky? What about the earth? What about the moon? What about the sun? What about the stars?
Is anything bigger than this big love? No. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful, wonderful love. Big and wonderful, big and wonderful, big and wonderful love, love, love. God's love is bigger than a burger, it is bigger than a mouse, bigger than an elephant and bigger than a house, bigger than a bus and bigger than a tree, bigger than a mountain, bigger than the sea.
What about a cloud?